Remember when football fans were allowed in stadiums? That was a good time to be alive, wasn't it? Well, what thought we do for today's video is rank every set of fans that has come to Deepdale this season. And you may be thinking, Ben, what are you going to do about the sides who you didn't get to see this season due to the football season being cut short? Well, for those sides who didn't get to come to Deepdale this season, I'll be revisiting last year's video and ranking them based off their support from last season. So we'll see what I said about them last season. This video is just for a bit of fun, so don't take it too seriously. Let me know in the comments down below who was the best and worst set of supporters to come to your stadium this year. But before we do hop into anything, the biggest shout out to our sponsors over at OneFootball. You can check out the new OneFootball app in the link in the description down below. Really handy app to have as we do head into the new season and to keep up to date with all the latest transfer rumours going around the Championship. You know me, I like to keep you guys up to date, but if you do want daily updates on all the transfers and stuff like that, OneFootball is really handy to have. Also for keeping up to date with all the recent stats, and when the football season does roll back around, you can get live updates to your phone when all the goals do go in. So I'd highly recommend checking that out in the top line of the description down below. So the categories we're going to be ranking these fans into are tragic, meh, decent, good and class. I can already tell people are going to be offended by this. It's just for a bit of fun, guys. Let's hop into it. So starting out with Wigan Athletic, who brought 2,945 fans. I'm a little bit gutted that Wigan went down, really, because in the Championship next season, our only local games against Blackburn. I remember when we were first promoted, we had Wigan, Bolton, Burnley and Blackburn all in the league with us. Now the only two Lancashire sides are just us and Blackburn, which is a bit disappointing. But Wigan at the start of the season, I think that Wigan fans will be glad they don't have to come to Deepdale next season, actually, because their record here is not the best, is it? Last year we beat them 4-0, this year we beat them 3-0. We just love a good home game against Wigan, don't we? Pre-match it was good atmosphere in the away end, you know, there was a sense that anything could happen, and then after 6 minutes we took the lead and it went a little bit quiet, which I can understand, really. You can have a bit of banter with the Wigan fans. I don't think they take themselves too seriously, did they? It was an alright away end. I'll put Wigan in decent, you know, it did go a little bit quiet at times, but that's understandable given the result, and they came in decent numbers, so I'll put them in decent. Our next home game was up against Stoke. They brought 1,302 fans. I think the crowd was definitely affected by this one, the fact that it was a midweek match and it was on Sky as well. In last year's video I did put Stoke in the good section. This time around they were a little bit quieter, but it was influenced by the match. We beat them 3-1. They scored a late goal, James McLean. It was a good game actually for North End. I remember the match we had the other season. I think Peter Crouch scored an equaliser and there were quite a few limbs in the away end, but this time around I think that a year of disappointment in the Championship had sort of waned on the fans a little bit. You know, for the numbers they brought, they were fairly loud throughout the match and they sung quite a bit, so I'd chuck Stoke into decent as well, probably. Probably would have been a little bit more if it was a Saturday game and not on Sky, but they're alright this year, Stoke fans. Sheffield Wednesday, I think, had the third biggest following coming to Deepdale this season. They brought 4,536 fans, and it was a good away end, I must admit. You know, whenever Wednesday do come, it's always a good atmosphere. Especially at Deepdale, it's always a bit of a feisty game between us as well. We did walk away with all 3 points from this one. DJ got 2 penalties, both given away by Adebayo. I think when you do get like a big club coming and they do fill out that away, and it makes such a difference. Even though the game didn't go their way, I probably will put Wednesday top tier. They were good when they came this season. Then we got Brentford, who brought just the 579 fans, the second smallest following on the Saturday to Deepdale this season. I mean, we were flying at the start of the season. This was another 3 points for us. We scored after just 4 minutes, Shunny Maguire, and after that the away end, the atmosphere just fell a little bit flat, really. We won the game 2-0. Brentford didn't score as well, so we didn't get to see like any limbs in the away end. I think someone's gonna have to fill out that bottom tier, aren't they? Brentford fans, I'm sorry. Bristol City this season, they were alright, you know. They brought 735 fans. This was one of the few seasons where we've not actually managed to beat Bristol City, which is absolutely mental considering our record against them over the years. But this season at Deepdale, it was a chaotic 3-3 draw. It was a good atmosphere on the day. I remember in days gone by, Bristol City, especially in the 14-15 season, had a really good following away at Preston. But I think that some fans probably stayed away because of our record against them. But this season, I chucked them into decent. They were pretty good, I thought. After that, we then played Man City in the Cup. And to be honest, Man City, I know their fans get a bit of stick. You know, it's the general like, oh, Man City fans plastic and stuff like that. But the fans who travelled to Deepdale, it was a cracking away atmosphere. It wasn't as if they were just like tourists that had come for the match or anything like that. They were genuine City fans. And to be honest, I'd throw City into the good category for this season. And then we get to Barnsley fans. Oh, we had some good times against Barnsley this season. At home, we did beat them by 5-1. It was one of our best performances of the season. We absolutely wiped the floor with them. At half time though, it was 1-1. Barnsley equalised just before half time, and there was some decent, you know, there was a decent atmosphere at that stage. They brought a decent following as well, 1,339 fans, and it also got us one of the best videos that's come out of Deepdale this season from Tykes TV.
Now they're breaking away from us. Breaking away. Oh my god. Rubbish! Rubbish! Absolute disgusting. And that's first time I've ever bowled.
It's golden every time I watch that. But I'm throwing them in the good category just for that. Go on. Then we get to Leeds United, who did bring the biggest following to Deepdale this season. 5,648 fans. It was a sellout from them, and there's no beating around the bush. They were very good. They were very loud, as Leeds normally are when they roll into town. I'll be a bit disappointed that we're not going to play them this season, but I am interested to see Leeds knocking it up in the Premier League. It was a decent game as well. We drew 1-1, and considering as well that this Leeds game was a midweek match as well, fair play. Eddie Nketiah equalised for them in the 87th minute, and it just was carnage in the away end. After that, we then got to Blackburn Rovers, who brought 4,592 fans, to the second biggest following to Deepdale this season, and I mean, oh my god, this one was a roller coaster of emotions. We were 2-0 down after 11 minutes, and in that away end, honestly, I was not loving life at that point. When it's one of the few local derbies that you've got in the season, you just don't want to lose it, and to be 2-0 down, Sam Gallagher was bullying our defence. Up until half time, it was a very good away end. I'm not going to lie about that. You know, they were singing. The second half, it was a little bit quieter in that away end, I think it's fair to say. But Blackburn fans, listen, they were good when they came to Deepdale this season. I won't back against that. Huddersfield Town, now, they were really poor at the start of the season, weren't they? But despite that, still brought a really good following to Deepdale. They brought 3,213 fans. We beat them 3-1, but it was a good atmosphere in the away end. Huddersfield away was one that I was looking forward to doing this season, but obviously we got put into lockdown before that was possible, which I was disappointed with. But I thought that all things considered, they brought a good following. It was a decent atmosphere. I'll shut them into the good category. West Brom, they brought 1,357 fans, which is actually a really decent following considering this one was on a Monday night and it was on Sky. I think that had it been a Saturday 3 PM kickoff, they would have had quite the following to this one. But if you were to ask me, am I still salty about that Kyle Edwards penalty being given in the last minute for a clear dive? Yes. Yes, I am still salty about it. Honestly, I don't think that this season I've been as angry after a match as I was then. I was absolutely fuming. Overall, though, for West Brom, they were decent for the 90 minutes. I'll chuck them in there. Next up to Fulham, who brought 331 fans. There's no beating around the bush. This wasn't a good following, was it? It was a midweek match, to be fair to them. It was some game as well. We beat them 2-1. David Nugent scoring his only goal this season in this one. I think Fulham fans know what's coming here, don't they? Do they care? I'm going to put them in the bottom tier. If they've just been promoted, I'm sure they don't really care where I'm placing their fans on the trip to Deepdale on the Ben HD video. Next up to Luton, do you know what? They travelled fairly well. They brought 865 fans, and the fans that did come, you normally get a bit of a split in the fan base where you get like some of them that sit down near the front, and then you get a smaller section at the back who actually make a bit of noise. But to be fair to Luton, the vast majority of them were singing. They were decent Luton fans. We did beat them by 2-1, but they made a bit of noise when they scored. I'd chuck Luton into decent. I thought they were fairly good. Next we then get to Reading fans, who brought just the 557 fans. But you know what? Reading, I think their fans have taken a bit of a batter on this channel over the years, haven't they? But this season, they weren't actually that bad. I mean, they did beat us by 2-0. I think the away atmosphere was definitely helped by the fact that we just weren't in the mood for this one. They took the lead early on, and they made it 2-0 soon after that. They were 2-0 up after 16 minutes. I put them in tragic last season, but you know what? This season, Reading, you're moving up in the world. You're going into the meh category. Congratulations. Next up to Middlesbrough, another game which we lost. This was the part of the season where we started to tail off a little bit, but Middlesbrough brought a decent following, 1,820 fans, and considering this was a part of the season when they were dwindling around the bottom three, the football they were playing under Woodgate wasn't great. They actually brought a decent following considering, and did make a fair bit of noise. I mean, it was helped by the result, but I'd chuck Middlesbrough into the good tier this season. I thought their fans were quite good when they came. Charlton, they brought 873 fans. I thought they were decent, to be fair. Andre Green took the lead for this one. We had him on loan at the start of the season, then Charlton got him, scored that goal against us, and there was a decent reaction in the away end. Thankfully, we did manage to turn it around and we did win 2-1, but the away end for that one I thought was fairly decent, to be fair. I'll chuck them into the decent tier. Swansea up next. This one finished as a 1-1 draw. Didn't have the biggest following come to Deepdale this season, 665 fans. I feel like I've not really got to see the best of Swansea fans yet at Deepdale. There have been a couple of like clips and stuff from different away ends where it looks like a decent atmosphere and stuff like that, but this one, it was a bit of a flat game. I mean, Scott Sinclair scored a decent goal for North End, and Brewster then equalised for Swansea. For their fans, it was probably a bit meh, to be honest. Millwall, they brought 724 fans. Once again, not the biggest following, but they did make quite a bit of noise, to be fair to them. And this one, quite similar to Luton, the majority of the fans that did come were like joining in, were singing and stuff like that. And when they did take the lead eventually, the away end did make quite a bit of noise. It was a fantastic away performance as well. Like, we were completely outplayed. For Millwall, I'll put them in a decent category. They were alright when they came. Hull City, they brought 721 fans. I think, you know, fair play to all the Hull fans that did make the trip, because this was at the point where they were just in horrendous form. We won this match when all ourselves, we weren't in a great run of form at this time, but we did walk away with all 3 points from this one. So fair play to the whole fans that did win. I think they were losing the will to live at this point of the season. I think because of the form they were in and everything like that, it wasn't the greatest of atmospheres in the end. I'll put them into the meh tier, but like I say, fair play to those that travelled. And then to finish off with QPR, this was the last team that we saw come to Deepdale this season. They brought 613 fans. It was a second half masterclass from Mark Warburton as they beat us by 3-1 with a man down as well. They were down to 10 men. The fans, I mean, it wasn't like a booming atmosphere in the away end. It's always a difficult one judging these London clubs because they don't bring the, you know, the biggest of followings away to a side like Preston with the distance and everything. You know, it's not the best game to sort of gauge their fan base, is it? But QPR, they were alright. I'll put them in the meh sort of category. But as you can see on screen now, those were all the sides that did come to Deepdale this season. Now let's go and add some in from last season. So actually the only side that I can't really make a judgment on is Cardiff, to be honest, because we didn't play them last season and we didn't play them this season at Deepdale with fans in the stadium. So Cardiff, I can't really make a judgment on you guys. Let me know down below, Cardiff fans, how well do you travel? Where do you reckon you'd rank on this? The first side we can go to though is Derby County. So here's what I had to say about Derby fans that came to Deepdale from last season. The County, I wasn't really sure where to place them. I've put them in the decent category. I put them in the middle. It was a bit of a funny game when we played Derby. It was on a Friday night. The game was on Sky as well. Derby brought just shy of 1,000 fans to Deepdale. Overall, when the game finishes a 0-0 draw, the atmosphere was just a little bit flat around Deepdale, both from the home and away end for this one. When Derby did sing, they were fairly loud, you know, they got a bit behind them, and the fans had some decent banter about them as well. Well, there we have it then. Derby, you're going into the decent tier. You can't argue with me, you're arguing with BHD from a year ago there. So Derby, they get put in the decent tier. After that, we had a game behind closed doors against Nottingham Forest. Let's see what I had to say about their fans from last season. With Nottingham Forest, I'm going to throw their fans into the good category. They brought just shy of 2,000 fans to Deepdale, which isn't a bad following at all. The fans were consistently singing throughout 90 minutes. They made quite a bit of noise as well. The game itself went and finished as a goalless draw. Wasn't the best performance from Preston in this one. However, Forest did have a goal wrongly ruled out in this one. When the goal did go in, there were some decent limbs in the away end until they realised that it was ruled out. So Forest fans do get put in that good category, just missing out on the top tier. And then to finish it off with Birmingham, this was our last game of the season at home this time round. Let's see what I had to say about Birmingham fans from last season that came to Deepdale. For Birmingham, I'm going to throw them into the top category. I must say I was very impressed by their fans when they came to Deepdale. On the whole, over the past few seasons really, Birmingham always seemed to travel well, especially, you know, this season when they had nothing to play for when they came to Deepdale. They still brought 5,556 fans, which is an absolutely brilliant following. For a club that's gone through everything that they have been going through over the past couple of seasons, with the sort of mess with the EFL, the fans have really stuck by the club this season and the support was fantastic when they came to Deepdale. So they go ahead and join Sheffield Wednesday and Leeds in the top tier. So as you can see on screen now, guys, there are my rankings for the Championship fans that came to Deepdale this season and a few last season. Apologies to Cardiff fans, I can't really make a judgment on it. I'd also want to know from you guys in the comments down below, when North End came to your ground, where would you place our fans? Well, that will now wrap it up for today's video, guys. Like I said before, it was just for a bit of fun really, so don't take it all too seriously. If you did go in to enjoy, make sure to leave a like and please do subscribe for a bit of regular Championship content. But other than that, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.